just imagine it? A place where all the knowledge of the human race was gathered under one roof. Not a building, but a living, breathing idea. That was the Great Library of Alexandria. It wasn't just a collection of scrolls, it was a promise that we as human beings could understand the world around us, that we could reach for the stars and touch them with our minds. This magnificent institution, founded in Egypt centuries ago, was a brilliant beacon of light. It shone across the ancient world, drawing people in with its reputation for holding every story, every discovery, every question humanity had ever dared to ask. It was a true wonder, a testament to the power of curiosity and the endless quest for truth. The sheer scale of it takes your breath away. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of papyrus scrolls. Think about that for a moment. Not a few dozen books on a shelf, but a vast, sprawling complex dedicated entirely to learning. So what exactly was inside this incredible place? It was called the Museum, the House of the Muses, a shrine to every form of human genius. The collection was mind-bogglingly vast and diverse. Masterpieces of literature, from the epic poems of Homer to lost plays of Sophocles and Euripides, poetry, drama, prose, every verse, every line carefully cataloged and preserved. But it went so much deeper than the arts. The library was a powerhouse of science and mathematics, groundbreaking texts on astronomy that mapped the heavens with astonishing accuracy, scrolls filled with complex geometric proofs and algebraic equations that laid foundations for modern math, medical treatises, detailed anatomical studies and observations about disease and cures, blueprints for engineering marvels, botanical studies, and geographical maps of the known world and beyond. It was the original internet, the first global database, all written by hand on delicate papyrus. Agents were sent across the Mediterranean and the Near East to acquire every book in existence. Scribes copied texts, originals were kept in the library while copies returned to owners. Callimachus created the Pinakes, a 120-volume catalog. They transformed a chaotic mountain of scrolls into an ordered, accessible universe of information. A library is nothing without its readers, and the Great Library of Alexandria attracted the absolute best. The Ptolemaic dynasty funded it, paying salaries, providing lodging and free meals so scholars could think full-time. These weren't guest lecturers. They were resident geniuses whose only job was to think, to study, to debate. Who were they? Astronomers, mathematicians, poets, physicists, doctors, philosophers, the rock stars of the ancient world. They formed an original think tank, a university and research institute rolled into one. They created new knowledge at an incredible rate while preserving the old. Callimachus compiled the Pinakes, the first large bibliographic catalog, listing works by author and subject. Peer review and rigorous debate, geographers, doctors, and philosophers testing each other's claims. The library's pulse was brilliant minds working together in relentless pursuit of truth. Astronomers, mathematicians, poets, physicists, doctors, philosophers. They came from all corners of the Hellenistic world, drawn by unlimited resources and intellectual freedom. They organized, cataloged, improved, and left a legacy that transformed how humans think about order and knowledge. The end of the Great Library wasn't a single dramatic event like a lightning strike from the heavens. Its destruction was a slow, agonizing process, a death by 1,000 cuts that spanned centuries. The first major blow is often attributed to Julius Caesar in 48 BCE, when ships set ablaze in the harbor and flames spread to warehouses of scrolls. Perhaps tens of thousands of scrolls in storage were consumed. A terrible accident of war. Centuries later, Emperor Aurelian's campaign likely destroyed what remained in the Bruchian quarter. A daughter library in the Serapeum rose and later fell. In 391 CE, mobs destroyed the pagan temple and its collections. Some accounts blame the Muslim conquest of 642 CE. The story of scrolls burned as bathhouse fuel is powerful, but disputed by historians. Many historians call that tale a later fabrication, yet it symbolizes a larger truth. Changing ideologies and intolerance played a role. The library didn't die in a single blaze. It was allowed to wither through neglect, budget cuts, ideological hostility. Ptolemaic and Roman patronage faded, fragile papyrus needed constant care. Without funds, they crumbled to dust. The greatest threats to knowledge are not always dramatic flames, but the slow, creeping apathy of a world that has forgotten its value. So we must ask the question, what knowledge was actually lost forever? What secrets were written on those scrolls that we will never know? We lost countless works of literature, Sappho's complete poems now survive only as fragments. Over 120 plays by Sophocles, only 7 survived. Native perspectives, like Berossus's Babylonian histories, vanished from our record. Aristarchus proposed a heliocentric model. His full treatise was lost. Humanity may have understood its place in the cosmos centuries earlier. Hero of Alexandria built early steam devices, temple novelties that hint at a technological path we barely glimpsed. If his plans had survived and spread, the Industrial Revolution might have come centuries early. Herophilus's 9-volume anatomy is completely lost. He distinguished between sensory and motor nerves and located intelligence in the brain. We lost Eratosthenes' detailed maps and his near-accurate measure of Earth's circumference. Catalogs of medicinal plants, blueprints for machines, voices, arguments, alternative theories, gone. Science is messy and branching. The library held whole conversations, dead ends and critiques that we will never fully recover. The smoke from Alexandria's fires still clouds our view of the past. When we talk about the library, we must talk about the giants who walked its halls. These were not nameless librarians, they were intellectual titans. Eratosthenes, head librarian, polymath, measured Earth's circumference using a stick, shadow, and geometry. He created the first world map with parallels and meridians and devised methods for tracking prime numbers. Euclid, elements, a masterwork of logical deduction and the gold standard in geometric proof. Hypatia, mathematician, astronomer, philosopher, a beacon of reason in the late classical period. Her death at the hands of a mob is often seen as a symbol of the closing of classical antiquity. Archimedes, Galen, Ptolemy, each represents entire universes of lost potential and achievement. The library gave them the tools, the community, and the freedom to achieve greatness. They were guardians of a sacred flame of knowledge. Their stories remind us progress is built and protected by dedicated human beings. The loss of the library still matters because it represents a break in the continuity of human knowledge. Observation, hypothesis, experimentation. That scientific mindset was practiced in Alexandria. When that tradition was broken, humanity was plunged into long intellectual stagnation. It took a millennium to recover. Aristarchus, Herophilus, leaders whose ideas were forgotten and had to be rediscovered. It's in the centuries we spent believing the Earth was the center of the universe. It's in lives lost to diseases that might have been understood far earlier. What if the library had survived? What would our world look like today? Would the Industrial Revolution have come earlier? Would telescopes have charted the solar system in the Middle Ages? We can't save those scrolls, but we can carry the spirit of the library in communities, schools, and on the internet. Communities, schools, the internet. We can champion curiosity and protect free inquiry. The dream of Alexandria is not lost forever. It lives on in every one of us who dares to ask a question and seek the truth.